Do you have a strong family history of cancer? Or have you lost a close friend to it? Maybe you've seen the impact of cancer in breaking families apart and worry about getting it yourself or losing more loved ones. So, can plant based eating lower cancer risk? If you're wondering this, you've come to the right place. In this episode, we'll see if avoiding meat and eating more plants in general can lower our chances of getting cancer. Let's also look into prostate cancer and see if being on a plant-based diet can help delay the progression of this cancer in those who have it. So get your water or tea and let's jump in. Welcome to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Anna Zinn, plant-based registered dietitian and transition coach. Hi friend. Do you want to regain your health with plant-based eating but feel overwhelmed and lost about how to do it? Do you feel it'll be hard to change your meat-heavy diet and impossible with working, running the home, or chasing after the grandkids? If so, you're in the right place. Here you'll find simple strategies, clear nutrition guidance, and practical tips to help you thrive plant-powered with more energy. So if you're ready to ditch the guesswork and transform your health the stress-free way, cozy up now with a hot cup of tea or listen while you walk, and let me show you how doable plant-based eating can be. Let's do this. I want to first highlight this coaching review I got from a private coaching client with initials BE. During the time that we worked together, she told me, "My husband is losing weight little by little. He's going a kilogram a week or half a kilogram a week, which is good. I feel great. I feel a lot happier as compared to when I was not on the plant-based foods. We probably need some new recipes as we have done all of yours. They are really good. You are a very good cook, I would say, and nutritionist as well." Thank you so much, BE, for this kind review and feedback. These are wonderful positive changes you have experienced for both yourself and your husband, and I'm so glad that you have enjoyed all the recipes I provided. Friend, if you would like to get personalized one-to-one support for your own plant-based diet transition, send me an email at healthnow@plantnourish.com or see the contact options in the show notes. Let's connect. Now, I'm sure most of us are affected by cancer in some way. We probably all know at least one person, a friend or loved one, who has had cancer or is battling it at the moment. Maybe you've even had someone you dearly love pass away from it. I definitely have. One of those was an aunt on my father's side who bravely fought lung cancer for 3 years with chemotherapy treatments. But then, after a period of remission, the cancer came back and eventually took her life. And that's not surprising. According to the World Health Organization, or WHO, cancer is a leading cause of death and was responsible for almost 10 million deaths in the year 2020. That's nearly 1 in every 6 deaths recorded. In 2020, the top 3 most common causes of cancer deaths came from lung cancer, colon and rectum cancer, and liver cancer. Yet the World Health Organization estimates that between a third to half of cancers can currently be prevented by avoiding risk factors and implementing evidence-based prevention strategies. This includes eating a healthy diet, including fruit and vegetables. So the question is, can cancer risk be reduced by switching up the way that we eat and what we put on our plates, especially if that change is to a vegan or plant-based diet? Let's find out. There have been many research studies on this topic, but let's look at a few studies more closely together in this episode. In a prospective study published in 2022, researcher Cody Watling and colleagues took a group of over 472,000 UK Biobank participants who were cancer-free at recruitment and followed them for an average of 11.4 years. The participants were between 40 to 70 years of age at recruitment. The key points of interest in this study were the diet patterns of the participants and the subsequent occurrence of incident cancer cases. Based on a baseline dietary questionnaire, The participants were grouped into regular meat eaters, low meat eaters, those who ate meat 5 or less times a week, fish eaters, and vegetarians. Of note, the vegetarian group also included vegans who reported not consuming any meat, fish, dairy, or eggs. The results? After analysis, researchers saw that compared with regular meat eaters, being a low meat eater, fish eater, or vegetarian were all associated with a lower risk of all cancer. This translates to an overall cancer risk that was 2% lower among those who ate meat 5 times or less per week, 10% lower among those who ate fish but not meat, and 14% lower among vegetarians and vegans compared to those who ate meat more than 5 times per week. For the vegetarians and vegan group then, that was quite a drop in cancer risk found. Of course, as with any study, there are strengths and limitations to it. In this study, key strengths would be the size of the population studied, the long prospective length of the study, and the fact that differences between the groups in terms of many variables such as activity levels, education, employment, and smoking status were considered and adjusted for. Some limitations of this study are that follow-up data on shifts in dietary patterns were not collected, and that researchers needed to group the vegans and vegetarians into one category for analysis because of smaller group numbers. Personally, I would have loved to see the results for the vegans in their own separate category, as I suspect the cancer risk would be even lower, and this risk could potentially be even significantly lower for those who are on a whole food plant-based diet. Now, what about different specific kinds of cancer, like prostate cancer? Can eating plant-based benefit those with this type of cancer? I want to highlight here a well-designed study done by Dr. Dean Ornish and colleagues called the Prostate Cancer Lifestyle Trial. This involved 93 men with prostate cancer who were randomized into 2 groups, a usual care control group and an intervention group that was asked to make comprehensive lifestyle changes. This included a change to a low-fat plant-based diet, exercising and stress management, and attending group support sessions. Then, after a year, researchers looked at outcomes, and this was what they found. In the control group, 6 patients had to undergo conventional treatment, such as radiation, surgery, or androgen deprivation therapy, because of increased PSA levels, or prostate-specific antigen levels, or a progression of disease on MRI. On the other hand, none of those in the intervention group had to undergo conventional treatment, like radiation or surgery. Their PSA levels actually dropped, and the growth of cancer cells was found to be inhibited more compared to that in the control group. Now here's the really fascinating part. Dean Ornish and colleagues then continued to follow these men for another year after the trial ended. At the end of year 2, 13 of the control patients, or 27% of them, had to undergo conventional treatment, while in the experimental group, only 2 or 5% had to do so. That's a pretty big difference. This all appears to point to the fact that intensive lifestyle changes, including a change to a low-fat plant-based diet, may benefit those with early low-grade prostate cancer in men, helping to slow down the growth of the cancer in their bodies. That's so encouraging to hear, isn't it? So today we looked at the question of whether eating plant-based can lower cancer risk. In this episode, I highlighted 2 particular studies. One was a large-scale prospective study, and the other is a smaller but well-designed randomized control trial looking at prostate cancer and the impact of comprehensive lifestyle changes with a low-fat plant-based diet. Both appear to show that there can definitely be benefits to adopting a plant-based diet lifestyle to lower one's risk of cancer and potentially even slow the progression of disease, at least for prostate cancer. Research continues on this subject, however, which is important. I hope more well-designed studies will be published in the near future looking at specific cancers and the impact of a whole food plant-based diet. I hope these studies will be prospective randomized controlled trials, or if they are large-scale observational studies, that they will utilize the plant-based diet index more to really differentiate what types of plant-based foods are being eaten and the subsequent health outcomes. Recently, a dear friend of mine in her 60s was unexpectedly admitted to the hospital for severe pain in the back. She had been diagnosed with endometrial cancer and it had spread to a few areas. By now, she had undergone 4 rounds of chemotherapy and the treatment seemed to be working. She even reported to me once after the 3rd treatment that her oncologist was very pleased with her prognosis because her cancer markers had dropped from 118 to 35 and that her white blood count had improved. But then one day, she was admitted into the hospital with severe pain. It was then found that she had a blood infection and possibly some spread of the cancer to the spine. She was then moved into the palliative ward and continues on strong medication to help reduce her pain. Now, 3 weeks later, she's still within the hospital. My heart goes out to her and her daughter during this challenging time. Having gone through a similar situation with a close loved one, I know how they must be feeling. This situation is a somber reminder to me, though, that chemo treatments can only do so much. Despite advances in technology and modern medication, there are still limitations in man's ability to treat disease. So prevention is still the best course of action to reduce cancer risk as much as possible, even if it doesn't guarantee no chronic disease in the future. That's why I am so passionate about what I do, educating and supporting others to better their health and do my part to help keep families together for as long as possible. My friend, the power is in your hands to make changes now, and I want to support you in it. Reach out to me at healthnow@plantnourish.com and let's help you get to the best plant-powered health for a stronger body and a longer, more energized life. Thank you for listening to the Plant-Based Eating Made Easy podcast. If this podcast has helped you, please rate and leave a written review on the Apple Podcast app or iTunes to let me know. Nothing will lift me up more than to read your review and see how this podcast has made a difference in your life. I also pick reviews to read on this show, so your review could be one of them. Come connect with me in my free Facebook community group, Beginners for Plant-Based Diet Success. Just go to bit.ly/PB Diet Success. That's bit.ly/PB Diet Success. You can also subscribe and follow this podcast to get notified when a new episode goes live. Signing off now, this is Anna, and I wish you the best health always.